So you mentioned the whole starting over stuff. You didn't see too many different things. Let's kind of jump to Belichick, Greg. Just your opinions on Belichick and especially how this game started. I mean, to me, here we go again, right? Like at the beginning of the game, you can't get out of your own way.
Yeah, to me, Nick, just looking at the big picture of where this team is and what they can do and what they can't do, I just think that Belichick's ineffective at coaching this team right now. I don't think, whatever message used to get through, was it mostly because of Brady? Was it mostly because of the success? I mean, they're so far gone from their successful times and the roster turnover that happens. Like it's a completely different team. It's a completely different mindset. And I just think, to me, the Patriots organization, especially the coaching staff, it always filters down levels. So, Belichick gives the broad strokes and tells everybody, what he wants. And he's watching the team and he's giving them coaching points. And this is what we need to do better and things like that. And then it goes down to the, off the coordinators and then down to the assistant coaches. And I just think with the mistakes that we've seen, and this is not a small sample size anymore, Nick. I mean, we can go back to since Brady left, but let's just look in the last 13 games, this team is 3-10. And I think, the victories were what, the Cardinals, the Jets this year, and the Dolphins with Skylar Thompson. I mean, to further your point that you talked about who they can beat. I mean, they're 3-10. They've won 3 of their last 13 games. This is not a fluke. This is not about injuries this season. This is not about, Matt Patricia or, what have you. This is about a team. It's about talent. And it's about how I just don't think the coaching is effective anymore. There's no way. I mean, if you looked at in just watching the film of this game, and look, the Raiders certainly made their fair share of mistakes. They were 1-6 in the red zone. A lot of it was their own doing. Kept this score close. The Raiders were in complete control of this game from start to finish.
Yep.
Basically, and they just couldn't, for example, the Jabril Peppers interception with Tavai on Devontae Adams. That's Garoppolo being late with the pass. He was a beat late with the pass. If he makes that pass earlier, Adams probably breaks a tackle and goes in for a touchdown, or at least, they have a first down, what have you. There were just little mistakes like that. But, to me, I thought that the Raiders were the much better coach team in all aspects of this game. And that it's come to this point just tells me that I just think that Belichick as a head coach is just ineffective at this point. It's not about the GM Bill letting down the coach Bill. If he was getting everything out of this roster that he could possibly get, then you would say, oh, it's the GM. I don't know how you feel about it, Nick, but I don't think he's getting everything out of this team. I think they're undisciplined. They make mistakes all the time. It's not just the quarterback. And, to me, you have to point it at Bill, that Bill is responsible largely for a lot of what's going on.
Ever wish you could navigate the betting field with the confidence of a pro? Enter Odds Are. They're not a sports book, but they're the sports betting advisor you've always needed. It's like having a playbook for smarter bets right in your pocket. I've been absolutely loving the experience, and I think you will too, especially since Patriots Press Pass listeners get a 30-day free trial. Elevate your game day and join the smart betting revolution. Go get it at oddsr.com/presspass. That's oddsr.com/presspass.
The CLNS Media Network is powered by FanDuel. Sign up at FanDuel.com/Boston. And get in on the action with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. When you place a $5 bet, that's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose.
The operation's a mess, and the operation is Bill Belichick's responsibility. And I'm not talking about the operation as far as roster construction. I'm talking about what you just mentioned, Greg. Penalties, the lack of attention to detail, circumstances and situations that should be rather obvious at times seem not obvious to this coach and this coaching staff. Fourth down decisions, the overall philosophy, the lack of aggressiveness. This team has zero identity. That's all on the head coach. All on the head coach. And we play this game of like, okay, well, you're either Team Mac or Team Belichick, whatever the hell game that is. This is not to, here's the disclaimer. Every time I talk about Mac, we have to do it. This is not to absolve Mac of the Dallas game, the New Orleans game. I thought he took some baby steps this past week. They were small baby steps. He still wasn't good enough. He still made 4 or 5 plays that you look at and say, you know, that wasn't good. That the pick was awful. But we've talked about this, and Greg watches the film. He grades these guys out. And the last 3 weeks, Mac has not been good. No doubt about it. But Greg has told you before that Dallas game, as we were leading into the Dallas game, Greg had said, I think it was 7 out of the last 9 or 8 out of the last 10 games or whatever it was, Mac Jones actually had a positive grade from Greg. More positives than negatives in each game. They're 3-10. So even when your quarterback is playing well, even when your quarterback has a great stretch like he had against Philadelphia in the second quarter, even when he's not looking like he's just mentally broken, you're still 3-10. It's the rest of the operation. That if you want to do blame pie is on Belichick for the most part. And again, it's not to absolve the mistakes that Mac has made. The inevitable question is not if Mac is broken, not if Mac is playing like crap, not if Mac is now one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. All of those things are true. The question to me is why? Why and how did Mac get to that point? And I don't think he woke up and just said, I now suck. I am broken. Because he played relatively well at the beginning of the season. Robert Kraft said something in an interview, Greg, that jumped out at you. Now, this interview was recorded back in August, but Kraft said something about Belichick's future during this interview that jumped out. Tell the people why that is.
Yeah, I was going to maybe try to play it, but so it was with David Rubenstein, I think is the name, and so this was just released last week, but it was recorded on August 15th, and the interviewer asked Robert Kraft about Bill Belichick, and how long is he going to keep at it? He's been at it for 24 years, and Kraft basically said, "Well, you'll have to ask him." That basically like he'll decide, when he's done. And I just wanted to get the, I don't know if you can hear that, but I'm just going to,
I can't.
He said, I'll let you ask him. He has to decide what's right for him. So that's the direct quote from Kraft. If that's true, Nick, and I'll be interested in your opinion, I think that's ridiculous. Now, again, look, the context is it was in the middle of August. This is back when Kraft was like, I really like our team. I like how nobody's picking us. Like, I think we have a good team. This is before 1-5. And, with one of the worst offenses in the league. If that's true, then I think it's ridiculous that Bill Belichick gets to write his own ticket when he's done. I don't believe that to be the case. I think this is, to me, Nick, this sort of furthers the conspiracy theory. And this is something that I floated, I don't know, about a year ago when we were looking at 2024 and all the cap space they have, all the decisions they have to make, all the pending free agents that no one is re-signed other than, Devontae Parker and Juwan Bentley. The 5th-year option on Mac Jones, like all that stuff. I can't think that Robert Kraft just is going to let Bill Belichick just coach if he wants to stay until he's 85 and they're losing that's not going to happen. And this would be the 3rd losing season in 4 years. And by the way, I was looking back because somebody was asking me about Shula. Shula had 1 losing season, I think, in his last 19 years. And his last one was 8 years before he got pushed out by Wayne Huizenga. 1. And was 8 years before. Every other year, they were right around about 500 or just over. And when he got pushed out, I think they qualified for the playoffs that year, but I might be mistaken on that. To me, this is Kraft and Belichick came to an agreement after last year and all that went wrong. And I do know Kraft was mad. And like, if Bill didn't say the right things, then Kraft was ready to part ways, like mutually, whatever. That they have an agreement that, all right, fine. You've earned another year. You've earned a mulligan on Matt Patricia. That decision. But if this doesn't go well, then, it might be time. It might be time for you to go do something else or go coach someplace else or something like that. So let's agree to that. We're on a year-to-year basis, but the results matter. And if the results aren't there, then, we both know what the conclusion should be on your career here. So to me, I'm hopeful that that's what it was, but certainly a puzzling comment to make by Kraft. Yes, he made it in August, but definitely interesting to be sure.
Couple thoughts. Number one, you can't allow your fear of Bill Belichick to dictate your decisions any longer. People have to stop fearing Belichick and fearing the wrath of Belichick. And they also, there's a point, Greg, where we get to, you can appreciate and respect what Belichick did, from when he joined the organization up until 2019. You can appreciate that. You can give him credit for that. When I look at it, I give Belichick credit for 01, 03, 04 for sure. Those 3 Super Bowls, Brady's still developing, shrewd decision-making when it came to personnel, putting together a great coaching staff, being on top of the details, having Ernie Adams, all of those things. I also would give Belichick a lot of credit for 2018 in that Super Bowl, because in the middle of the year, it was Belichick and McDaniels getting together and saying, we have to change what we're doing offensively. We've got to change stream. We've got to do something. We've got to be run first. That's what's going to define us. They made that change. And they don't win that Super Bowl unless Belichick completely shuts down and embarrasses Sean McVay. So it's not just, Brady was the only reason Belichick. So you can give him credit. But we also have to look at what's happened since Brady left. And we also have to understand that there's been so many bad decisions. So we can't cover Belichick's ass anymore because of what he did the first 19 years, 20. You just can't do it anymore. That'd be malpractice by Kraft. Secondly, I do wonder, to go along with your conspiracy theory, Jerod Mayo, right? I think people don't want to come out, because if they do, it'll look bad on Kraft and say, well, Kraft told Mayo that he's going to be the next head coach. But to go along with the conspiracy theory, it kind of feels like he did. And if this was, hey, Bill, you got this last year, man. Good. If you go out on top, awesome. You're going to get a statue anyway. You're going to be a hero anyway. This isn't going well. Mayo is ready to take the keys. You know it. He's young enough. He wants to do it. We don't want to lose him. So I think that conversation, did it happen? I don't know for a fact. I'm not reporting this, but it would seem to make a lot of sense that Kraft went to Mayo and said, man, just wait one more year. I've had the conversation with Bill. We're moving forward without him in the next year or so. You're our next guy. Just stay and be here. And we're going to give you the keys to the castle. Just believe us. That's what would make sense to me.
I completely agree with you. I think that, when Mayo turned down head coaching opportunities to interview, that was a big tell. You don't do that unless you're promised something. And to me, he is the coach in waiting. And Nick, the big thing is, and we're going to have months to talk about this, the way the season is going, and Buffalo next up, and then Miami. So they're staring at 1-7 in the face. It's, what does it look like? Okay, so maybe it is Mayo, and from people that I talked to, there are some definite Mayo, and we've talked about it before. Mayo is basically, the Krafts look at Mayo as sort of like Belichick, but just updated firmware, where he can think analytically, and is willing to take some bigger swings personnel wise, and spend some money, and not be so, adherent to, I don't want any player making more than I do at $20 million a year, or, stuff like that. But the big thing is like, if they do that, if it is Mayo, they can't just take Belichick out and keep everything in place. Like that's not going to go over well with the fan base. That it's just Mayo's the head coach, Steve Belichick's the defensive coordinator, Bill O'Brien's the offensive coordinator, Matt Groh's running personnel, that it's everything except Belichick is out. I don't think that's going to satisfy anybody, and I don't think that's the direction that they should go. If it's Mayo, if they believe in his vision for the franchise in the next 10 years, let him shape the franchise in the vision that he wants. And if that means wholesale changes on the coaching staff, in the front office, then so be it. But, you just can't just take out Belichick and say, oh, well, everything's okay. I don't think that's good enough.
With the busy fall season already in swing, you might be looking for wholesome, convenient meals for jam-packed days. Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit, can help you fuel up fast with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. Head to factormeals.com/PressPass50 and use code PressPass50 to get 50% off. That's code PressPass50 at factormeals.com/PressPass50 to get 50% off.